I always wanted to be called, she's a great leader, not a female leader. I was constantly worried that I wasn't good enough, that I could get fired, and so I just worked so hard.
He comes again.
I don't want people walking around saying, I want to be like Bobbi. You want to be like yourself. Be your best, and everything you got is right there.
See how he's trying.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question that you usually don't ask your friends. And first of all, how long have we known each other?
At this point, well over 20 years.
Really?
Yes.
Was that 20 years that I came to your house?
I had no idea who you were, and you played me like a fiddle.
Well, it wasn't
until
a big deal.
I was in a ditch, and then I was like, "Is somebody going to help me out of this ditch?" When I figured out who you were, do you remember what I said? I was like, "You're Bobbi Brown."
And
after like a whole extended conversation.
And guess what? I am just Bobbi. I am still Bobbi.
That is the best part of you, but it's still one of my favorite stories.
So for anyone that's watching that doesn't know who you are, I mean, I met you, you were the third employee at Facebook.
No, I was not the third employee.
That's what I heard.
No, not even close. I was an early employee at
Okay.
Facebook. I think the business team was about 100 people when I joined in 2011.
And when you left, what year was it?
I left in 2021.
Okay.
So 10 and a half years.
Yes.
100 people to over 5,000 on my business team. And $1 billion in revenue to over 80 billion. And it was a heck of a ride. I loved my team. And it was I always say don't cry because it was over, smile because it happened.
I only have this paper because I cannot remember this, but you are on an enormous amount of boards. I don't know how you do what you do. The Coca-Cola Company, the Walt Disney Company, Under Armour, Villanova University, the Humane Society of the United States, and Columbia Medical School. First of all, how do you do it? And, you know, you're a woman, and that's so awesome.
Well, I have never identified like as a specific gender. Generally, I've always approached my career and my life as like, I'm a human. I'm a person just trying to do what I do. And I always wanted to be called, she's a great leader, not a female leader. Like I never liked that label. The board work has been amazingly interesting for me. And I love the content. I love what I'm learning. But it is not as intense as having a full-time, one singular operating role where every geopolitical issue that popped up suddenly landed in my inbox or an emergency call in the night. So that kind of pressure that I had for 10 and a half years at Facebook or now Meta, this is not like that. I think I got really fortunate with what I've been able to put together since leaving a full-time role.
So when did you become so confident?
When I was in business school, 1997 through 99, first .com craze, if you remember, everybody was starting companies. I wanted to start one. Of course, I wanted to start one at my passion point, which was pets. I found the person who owned the domain pets.com, tried to buy it. He wouldn't let me buy it, but he said, I'll join in, we'll raise money. We raised $5 million from a venture capitalist, and part of the agreement was they would hire a CEO. I flew out to meet her 3 weeks before graduation, having turned down all my job offers. She told me what she wanted to do with the business. I said, you're gonna bankrupt the business. And she fired me. She faxed me basically my firing notice to my dorm room, essentially. It was an apartment, but it was a dorm room. I graduated from business school with no job, having been fired from my own company and having my dream completely devastated. That rocked my confidence in a way that I could not talk about it. I wore a baseball cap to all of my final exams just to get through them with tears rolling down my eyes. I did not talk about that for a decade. I did not talk about it until I got to Facebook. It was like this weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But between that point, when that happened in 99 up until 2012, I was constantly worried that I wasn't good enough, that I could get fired, that something terrible was going to happen. And so I just worked so hard. I think that also getting some financial and economic security was really important to me. I grew up where getting the monthly bills paid in my house was a stress.
What did your dad do for a living?
My dad worked at Grumman. My mom was a public school teacher, and I started earning income at age 13. For me, getting some economic security gave me some freedom that I don't think women talk about.
Right.
And so I think it's been an evolution, Bobbi. And, you know, there are moments where I walk into rooms and I'm like, wow, how in the world did I get in this room? And then there are other times where I'm like, I look down and I'm like, okay, I should be proud.
And I know women listening to you are going to be like, you know, your story's unbelievable. What they don't know about you is you are a proud grandma.
Yes, four grandchildren.
You have how many kids?
2 biological, twin girls, and 2 sons.
And so being a working mom, like what advice do you have for women out there that are just trying to to figure all the stuff that we've been talking about, plus how to take care of the family?
For my whole career up until COVID, I was just a maniac at making the big events. I'd go to Singapore for a day so I could get back to be on the lacrosse field. And the girls, just their memory is mom was there. But during COVID, when I was home every day and being there in the morning when they woke up, I was like, wow, I missed a lot of the small moments. So my lesson for women is that blend a little bit of the big and small moments. The second thing I would say is don't be hard on yourself. Nobody has this figured out. And I think as long as the kids know without question they're the number one priority, I think that's the best you can do.
Such a businesswoman. But on top of all of this, I don't know if you called it a blender or a salad, whatever this life is of yours. How do you deal with how you look? How have you always dealt with it? And what advice do you have for other people?
It does make a difference with how you feel. You've taught me a lot around just a simple routine.
And how do you feel about what's happening to us naturally, which is getting older?
I love living. I really do. Death is like it's probably without question my biggest fear. This week's the anniversary of my father passing. It'll be 5 years.
Wow.
I really cannot stand the notion of losing somebody close to me. But if I have a chance to try to learn a little bit and take care of myself, I will.
I have a memoir coming out, which I'm
excited.
Not really
for this.
talking about yet, revisions, but whatever. What's the name of your memoir?
There isn't necessarily a plan for a memoir, but there have been discussions and they're ongoing about a book. And then you get the insecurity of like, well, do I have something to share that's interesting? And will people want to hear it? But I have a couple of people that have really asked me to pull it together. I think it would be around, it's that my thesis around the book is leadership is no more complicated than being a good human. There are basic things. Giving back to your community. People put all these fancy management leadership frameworks together. I kind of boil it down to be a good human and people will gladly follow you.
What's the one thing that you can give anyone listening today who's struggling and trying to figure it out, that's listening to this and say, oh, it sounds so easy for her? What could you give that person?
It wasn't so easy at any time, and it's going to be okay. Hard work really pays off. Relationship building and networking really pay off, but you have to do it because you're genuine about it, not because you're looking to get something from somebody. Be patient. Be open to things that you didn't even know were possible. Facebook hadn't even started when I came out of college. If I had said, it didn't even exist. Be willing to take risks, be your authentic self, just be a good human.
Which you are, and everybody loves you.
Everyone loves you too.
Well, I'm glad we found each
I know.
other.
Thank you.
You're the best. You are the best.